Hello and good afternoon, everybody. Happy Thursday. Thank you all so much for joining us here today. I am Colleen Baker. If you don't know me already, I am the producer for the Houston Chronicle HC Live series. I am, in fact, reporting to you live from the Houston Chronicle offices, and I'm hearing that people can't hear me, so I want to make sure. Lisa, can you hear me?
I can hear you, Colleen.
Okay, that's good. Let me make sure. I hear you fine. Okay, I think I hear people chiming in already, which is always why I like to come on first. I want to make sure our guests and Lisa, everyone can be fully understood, because this is obviously a conversation that is extremely important and being talked about left and right. I see a lot of people already saying, so good to see everyone, wonderful, and excellent. So basically, I will let Lisa Falkenberg, of course, who just chimed in and is keeping me honest here with volume levels, basically set the scene for our entire discussion today, all about redistricting and what is going on in Chicago, right? And I will say, I know our amazing guests today, Rep. Adam Johnson and Rep. Linda Garcia, they are here and actually tuning in live, obviously, from Chicago. They are both on site, on the ground. Very much we are doing a live HC scenario like we do every week, but this is obviously very exciting and very timely of our news cycle. So also, I just want to make sure a few housekeeping items to kind of tidy everything up before we throw it over to Lisa. And the first one is I want to make sure, if you are in the chat and on right now, let us know where in the US, where abroad, where are you tuning in from? Obviously, this is a discussion that hits all the geographic corners. So I see Katie and Houston chiming in. Are you in Montrose, Baytown? I see Austin even. Okay, great. So the chat feature is working. And the great news about that is we are actually using the chat, as always, for dedicated audience questions. So if you have a question for Representative Ann Johnson or Representative Linda Garcia, again, both are in Chicago, both are in this day in and day out, you know, with everything going on. So I see Seguin, that's a shout out to Lisa. I don't think they know you, or maybe they do, we'll find out, but there is Seguin on as well. But anyway, other than that, start using the chat feature. Like I said, we will be getting to user questions and reader questions, audience questions on the second half of this. Yeah, start submitting your questions. And Lisa, officially over to you. I want to send it over. How are you?
Great, thanks. I'm great, Colleen. Good to be here. For everyone asking about Representative Gene Wu, I'm so sorry, because I know that we had promoted it. He was supposed to join us. He had a last minute conflict, which does not involve an arrest of any kind. But we are very thankful for Representative Garcia for joining us, and I want to make sure we get her town right. It's Mesquite. Outside Correct. Of Dallas. Yes, because if somebody said I was from San Antonio, I'm originally from Seguin, I would not be happy about that. So, okay, well, great. So everybody knows the situation. We've got these lawmakers that have been on the lam for democracy outside of Chicago, and we want to talk to them about what the game plan is now. The session is ending, the legislative session tomorrow is ending. Governor Greg Abbott has said he's going to come right back and call another special session to pass through mid-decade redistricting. Everybody probably knows what that is if you're here, but you know, this is an attempt to get more seats, get up to 5 seats, they're saying. So yeah, out of Texas, so that the cushion is better for President Trump in the midterms, and he's able to keep power of the U.S. House. I want to just start by asking you guys, remind us how many days in since you slept in your own bed, and how you're feeling at this point.
Well, I think we're close to 11 days. I believe that we're close to that point since we broke quorum for the group of us that are trying very much to defeat this particular special session. And yes, we have seen the governor's suggestion that they are going to Sunny Die on Friday. Don't believe we've yet seen the call for a next special session, but it's really up to him on what he wants to talk about and what he thinks is important to the people of Texas. We do not believe stealing 5 seats to determine or attempt to determine the outcome of the next election is the right thing to bring us back for. And again, that's on Governor Abbott. And so, yes, we are in the position of breaking quorum, which is an extraordinary and an exceptional act. But it is the only tool that we have in our toolbox as the minority to try to defeat it. So while it would be nice to be in Texas talking about the issues you care about, Governor Abbott has pushed us to be away from the state.
Right. And Representative Garcia, you have an interesting perspective. I understand you're the only parent lawmaker who had to bring your, maybe he just wanted to come along, I don't know, but Mom, can I tag along? But had to bring your son who's 10, as I recall, and tell me what that's like for you and for him to be on this adventure.
Sure. Well, he has been very politically engaged since he was young. So, a lot of the times people are like, "How are you explaining these things to him?" But honestly, he understands, I think, a lot more than folks can believe. And so, I was forced to bring him just out of childcare, and he was out for summer. He came along, and he's been such a trooper, and my colleagues have been amazing and just rallying around me and helping me take care of him. But it has been most definitely an interesting process, one that I'm sure he'll be proud of one day in the future to have been a part of.
And this is your first session, so baptism by fire. Now, you've done some pretty amazing things. I've seen you described as, the Latino Warren Buffett. So you are a financial educator, with a career in that area in your own right, and you've done so much. And you were hesitant, as I've read, to go into politics. People had to really twist your arm, it seemed like, in this one profile I read in D Magazine. So is this what you signed up for?
No, it is not. I think I read somewhere that women are typically asked around 7 times before they agree to actually running for something. This was a series of serious inquiries over, I would say, about 20 years in my life to consider running. And this last one felt pretty significant and pretty heavy. One of the first questions I asked when I was posed the question of would you consider running is how much does the position pay? Obviously, having written a book on money and making sure that we have equitable pay for women, something that I'm very passionate about, that's an important question to me. And finding out that a state representative makes $7,200 a year was shocking. I could not believe it. And then I went on to do research on my district, and the per capita income in my district is $24,000 a year. I know what my district looks like. I live there. And so I was really concerned on where are you going to find someone that actually lives in our district and cares about our community and has the flexibility to uproot themselves and go to Austin and, make $7,200 a year. And then I just sort of got really angry at the system, and I understood why we are losing our rights in Texas. Being able to execute this responsibility is a massive privilege. And most of the people that we are fighting for are in places where they are unable to do something like this. And so then it was more of a civic duty than anything else.
Yeah. And so then was there any hesitancy in your mind about going on this trip? Call it a trip like you're at the beach or something, which you're not. Was there any hesitancy, though, leaving the
No.
state, taking this risk? Why?
Not one hesitancy, not at all. I have been concerned with our party. I'll speak very candidly in terms of us losing youth and not being able to engage youth, losing youth to socialism, and then also to the far right. So I really felt like this was an important moment for us to fight and to demonstrate to the youth and hopefully reignite them and help them understand what is taking place and why we need to re-engage.
Mm-hmm. And I wonder, so gerrymandering is just, one of the ugliest things that we do in our democracy. It's rigging the game. Both parties have done it. And the Supreme Court has said it's perfectly okay to gerrymander for partisan reasons. But what we're heading into you know, looks like it's been called an arms race, gerrymandering arms race with other states, Democratic states saying they feel the only way to protect the majority or the potential majority in the U.S. House for Democrats would be to gerrymander in the blue states, even in a state like California, perhaps New York, that had taken steps, in my opinion, to safeguard democracy by ending partisan gerrymandering. I know how Representative Ann Johnson feels about this, and she and I disagree. But I would like, before we hear from her, I would like to hear from you, Representative Garcia. Something like that, don't you think that that's going to lose the very kids that young people that you're talking about?
Do I think that we're going to lose them based off of gerrymandering, or can you clarify the question for me?
The idea of encouraging blue states to do away with
I see.
fair systems, the nonpartisan citizen commissions that draw their districts there. They're talking about undoing those to have partisan
Yeah.
gerrymandering to create more blue seats.
Yeah, I do think that what's taking place with Governor Newsom here in Illinois is very different from what is taking place in the state of Texas. We're talking about an unconstitutional redistricting. We are talking about silencing the voices of Black and brown minorities. And when we have stepped up into the space of breaking quorum, which is a legal tool that we have access to, we are talking about standing up to Donald Trump finally. And so I do not think it's the same, and I think it's unfair to treat it as equal situations that are taking place.
Mm-hmm. I don't think they're the same, but Representative Johnson, it still is a system that would amplify the ugliest part of our democracy, in my opinion.
Yeah, I absolutely want an independent commission to redraw the lines. I've offered it multiple times. We have legislation right now that would say that in Texas that we would have an independent commission redraw the lines. So I'll offer it again. And if Governor Abbott wants to accept that bill and put it up for a hearing, we can find out if both sides are really willing to do this. I think one of the differences about California right now is, one, if they do this, they are doing it purely as a reaction to Texas. I agree with their independent commission. In fact, Democrats across the nation agree with the independent commission. Democrats passed H.R. 1 that called for an independent commission nationwide. Every Democrat voted for it. Every Republican voted against it. So the idea that same sides engage in this arms race is not only not fair to how we originally set it up, but what Texas is trying to do right now is to steal 5 seats mid-decade redistricting. And I know people say, oh, they're just redistricting. They're just gerrymandering again. No. This is not normal. This is not a normal year where we would do a redistricting. They are purely doing it because Trump is afraid of voters in November 2026, because he knows he has awful policies. He knows that millions of people are getting kicked off healthcare. Public education is getting defunded. And the economy right now is going through the roof, where everyday Texans and Americans are having to pay the price of his tariffs. They are deathly afraid of the voters. So they're deciding to try to do this right now. And the problem is, if you let them get away with it, then they just think they can redistrict anytime that the policies are bad, and they think the people will respond. And so I would love it if the solution to all of this is that the people rise up and say, hey, politicians, stop drawing your lines. We're going to draw them for you, not only in Texas, but nationwide. To me, that's the ultimate win, and I support that. But when only Democrats are supporting that and Republicans are not, and Republicans maintain almost a supermajority in this state until the voters tell them no, then us as Democrats unilaterally disarming across the nation, effectively tying one hand behind our back while the other side does what they want, is not fair for democracy. And so I appreciate that California's talking about. I appreciate they're going to put it up for a public vote. And I appreciate that they're going to do it only as a trigger. They're only going to do it if Texas tries to go forward with this. So again, you're putting this whole weight of fairness. We are again putting it at the feet of Greg Abbott. What do you choose to do? And again, I think we'll find out pretty soon whether or not he has political courage or political morals.
Mm-hmm. Well, one thing that he's saying, he's threatened to remove y'all from office. He's threatened to,
How undemocratic, right?
he's threatened to do that. But then he's also said recently that if California does come back with 5 seats, that he might take 10 Democratic seats away from Texas. Is that even possible? Is that just him talking
No,
tough?
please, if he wants to redraw 10, redraw 10. I'll tell you, the biggest outrage we'll have from that are all the Republicans, because they know you can't squeeze out the margins of Texans. Texas is actually a Democratic state. There are more people registered who would vote with Democrats than with Republicans, but that's why their suppression, their oppression, the manner in which they try to get us to sign up to vote keeps people from thinking their vote matters. My Republican colleagues understand it. If Abbott gets so greedy to thin out the lines, they're going to really have trouble. So yeah, if he wants 10, go get 10. We would love it if he tried to get 10. And I think that's part of why this is working. It is now Republican members of Congress that are saying, Texas, don't do this. They're filing legislation to say mid-district or mid-decade redistricting shouldn't happen, because they know that this is not a good game. And it's the wrong thing to do.
One of the hardest things to do, I covered the Democrats when they went to Albuquerque in 2003. And one of the hardest things it seemed to do at that time, people say getting Democrats on one issue is herding cats. That's just because it's full of independent thinkers, right? That's what the Democrats say. But getting them to maintain solidarity on this. Some people want to go home. Some people have, commitments, family commitments. How are you doing there? How is it? How is everyone doing in terms of staying on message and staying on the commitment to stay gone as long as it takes?
Yeah, I think that our leadership is doing incredible. As a freshman and someone that has never gone through this before, I'm really impressed with the House Democratic Caucus. I'm impressed with leadership. I'm impressed with the contribution and the space to able to participate in our own personal thoughts on how to move through this as effectively as possible. And honestly, I'm just truly impressed with how leadership is handling this. And I mean this, and I tell them this all the time, that it's incredible to see them move through everything that we're doing on a daily basis, because we are working from sun up to sundown every day.
Representative
Agreed.
Johnson?
No, agreed. This is a really unified group, but just as you said, as Democrats, we are not a monolith. We are a diverse group by age, by background, by profession, by area of Texas. We are incredibly diverse. And I think that's what makes us so amazing. We are unified in what we know is the necessity to step up and try to get them from stealing 5 seats and determining or trying to determine the outcome of the next election before anybody has a chance to vote. And so, yes, we do have differing opinions, but we are a diverse coalition, and we're very much a family that looks like Texas and looks like the American people. The issue is we support one another. We try to uplift one another. And I think that's the hard thing with where I am right now with Texas Republicans. They are trying to use their power to silence the vulnerable, not lift the vulnerable. And we are a coalition of communities that know that our people are struggling, and we're doing everything that we can to stand together to try to lift them up. And that is a big distinction between the Republican Party and the Democratic Party.
What do you think this whole I'm going to call it a campaign, but the whole quorum break, walkout, what has that done for the perception or the criticism that the Democrats are weak? Republicans are strong and Democrats are weak. That is supposedly the messaging or the lesson we were supposed to take from the last presidential election. What has this done for that perception, do you think?
I'm sorry, you cut out. Did you come to me?
What do you think that has done for this perception, either one of you?
Yeah, they're not strong. Republicans are not strong. Strong would be staying in your house when a freeze hits and not trying to go to Cancun. Strong would be trying to find a way to get access to healthcare when we're a nation with the highest rate of uninsured children. Strong would be listening to the families from Uvalde and having the courage to take a vote on whether or not you want to raise the age. Republicans continue to prove that they are politically pathetic. And I mean that now. I mean, you have Senator John Cornyn, who fancied himself the standard bearer of ethics right up until he got his poll numbers against Paxton. I mean, this is no longer your parents' Republican Party. They have all rolled over for the party extremism, all because they want to save their own personal seats. So when politicians show you that they are more concerned with keeping their job than doing their job, it has nothing to do with public service. And that's not strength. If you're not willing to do this job, if you're not willing to step up and be willing to be up in the middle of the night when a storm is coming to protect your county and your community, if you're not willing to talk about women's health care and the fact that dismantling coverage for people is not only going to hurt women across the state, but I represent the medical center. I mean, you talk about the way that they're trying to infringe on the economic engines of the state, whether it's business or the medical community, because they want to play extremist partisan politics. There's nothing strong about that. It is showing to be excessively weak.
Mm-hmm. And what kind of feedback have y'all gotten from constituents? I see these people in the chat certainly are rallying, are proud to see what you're doing. What kind of feedback, Representative Garcia?
Sure. We've received over 900 emails, thankful of what we're doing. We've received a ton of phone calls, messages at the Capitol. It's really been incredible to see. We've received 3 phone calls against what we're doing. So it's just a stark difference on, what the people want to see. We saw that in the hearings. So I think it's just reflective of the messages that have come from Texans and what they would like to see. And it's coming from both Republicans and Democrats.
Yeah, I'm amazed at the number of Republicans that have reached out. And I'm appreciative not only to the Republicans who have reached out to say thank you for trying to take this stand. I am grateful to the families who have been directly impacted by the flood, who have reached out to acknowledge that what we are doing in this quorum break is important, and also to acknowledge that they feel like they are being used as a shield for politics by Governor Abbott. I am ready to address the issues of the Central Texas flood. We are ready to deal with the issues of infrastructure and having policies put in place to now account for the extreme weather, whether it's the fires in the Panhandle or the floods in Southeast Texas, and the impact that that's having on your everyday property and casualty insurance rates. Democrats are ready to go have those tough policy discussions and actually put plans in place. And so thank you to all those people who are reaching out. And just as Rep. Garcia said, don't forget, it's not just the calls that we're getting to our offices. When they actually did the hearings on the idea of whether or not they wanted to redistrict, 99% of the thousands of people that showed up to testify were against this. This is not being generated by Texans. This idea is being generated by Trump, and Abbott is bending the knee to try to give it to him.
So we usually wait a little bit before we start taking the questions, but these folks are just really going crazy over here. And we have a lot of wonks. So they are asking very technical questions, some of which I know the answer to, but I'd much rather hear it from Ann Johnson, who is a lawyer, not an election lawyer, but she can get into the weeds on some of these things. People keep asking, how is this legal? How is it just legal for them to come and carve up when demographics are what they are? How can they even squeeze out five more districts and still be faithful to the parts of the Voting Rights Act that still exist?
Yeah, no, I don't think they can. And that's part of the issue here. One, don't forget, we already have litigation pending on whether or not the lines that Republicans drew in 2021 violate the Voting Rights Act. That litigation is pending. And now you have the same people that drew those lines through a ruse from the Department of Justice. It's a pretext for them to say, and they're contradicting each other. On one hand, your elected officials just went under oath in that court case and said they did not draw the districts to be discriminatory. But now Trump's Department of Justice has said, hey, we think you drew them to be discriminatory. And they're using that as a pretext to try to do this. And so they legally, again, They can't be honest in this question because it's completely inherently dishonest. They're also doing what we call crack and pack. They are taking and creating these facade districts that they're going to go around and tell you, oh, these are really minority opportunity districts, but they're not. The way they've cracked them up, they are taking communities of Latin American individuals or African American individuals and packing them with white Republican voters to supersede the power of their vote. Per the Voting Rights Act, we are supposed to create communities cohesive in a way that gives the ability for those minorities to pick their elected official. It's not the color of the elected official. It's whether or not the voters in that district have the opportunity to choose. And what they're doing right now is cracking and packing those districts to ensure that white GOP voters will have the political power, even though the numbers are there.
But one of their arguments is that it's becoming harder to align certain groups, communities, ethnicities, races with a certain political party. One of the reasons for that is, some of the support for President Trump that we saw among Latinos in Texas. Is that a legitimate argument? You want to handle that, Representative Garcia?
Go ahead.
I don't think it's a legitimate argument because what is happening, some of our colleagues have done a lot of research on this. Vince Perez was highlighting as he was looking at the numbers that for every white person that votes, it will take 3 Latinos to vote. And for every white person that votes, it will take 5 African American folks to vote. And so it's really diminishing the power of our voice. And also something that is really important that I'd really like to make clear and highlight is that Latinos are not party loyalists. And so just because they voted for Trump in this last election cycle, it does not mean that in the midterm elections they will vote Republican. We also saw them vote top of the ticket for Trump, but then Democratic down the ticket. And so we need to be really mindful of assuming that these are Republican, that Latinos are mostly Republican voters, because they're not. They vote on issues like the economy.
Yeah. Do you think, is there a good estimate of how much each of these sessions cost?
Oh,
In the past, but I wonder if lately somebody's asking to quantify that. How much is this going to cost taxpayers?
I mean, I think it's always been referred to at least $1 million every special session. And not only that, Governor Abbott likes to tout what he calls conservative values. They like to tout public safety. I want to remind everybody that right now, they know we are not in the state of Texas, but they are pulling police officers off the beat to go sit outside our houses and on our streets. They like to claim that they want to give you freedom, right? But yet they are so afraid of the freedom that you currently have that they're trying to redraw these districts to determine the election and take away your vote. And so I hope that Texans will see the hypocrisy in what the governor is doing, and the fact that, again, his entire motivation is around politics, not the people of Texas. When we got called into special session, despite what he claimed about the flood, there was only one bill that they brought up for hearing, and that was redistricting. There's only one bill that they put a call on arrest for us, and that is redistricting. There was nothing else that was important to them. It was only this issue. And again, folks need to get, they are not interested in debating policy that affects your everyday. They are only interested in party extremism.
What kind of police officer do you have outside your house? What agency is that?
So we've had DPS officers, and there have been numerous members that have reported, and things are out there on social media about DPS officers that are sitting outside of members' houses on their streets, despite the fact that we're not in Texas. And so why would you take an officer that could be responding to a call for service because you want them to play politics, because you want to try to harass or intimidate and get us to come back? And so that's what we have seen. From the minute this started, we've been threatened to lose our leadership positions. We've been threatened financial ruin, which is they want to allocate $500 in a personal fine against us personally every day, even though we only make $600 a month. They have asked their supporters to, quote, hunt us down. And now you have Senator Cornyn, who's tried to get Kash Patel and the FBI to participate. Yesterday, there was a ruling out of Illinois where Texas is trying to get them to assist. And they said, look, this is not something that we can assist in legally. And I'm grateful that the courts here in Illinois at least showed the courage to stand up to people that are trying to arrest their political opposition on an arrest warrant that is civil. And so, again, they're not following any of the integrity of the institution or the systems that are supposed to be in play in the democratic process of opposing political positions trying to come to the center.
Mm-hmm. And so what is the thinking on, the Democrats who chose not to leave and the Democrats in the Texas Senate?
I mean, obviously, we are Democrats, and we understand that everybody's in a different position. And what we are really, really clear about is our fight is not with each other. Our fight is with the Republican Party. Our fight is with the Republican leadership in Texas that are attempting to steal the next election. And so you do have a quorum break where enough Democrats have been able to accomplish this goal. And I'm grateful that the Texas House Democrats have stepped up to do it. I'm grateful that we've sparked this conversation. And I'm even more grateful that we're starting to see the wave of that spark catch fire in other states where they're starting to respond and come to our aid. Be real clear, our quorum break, we weren't running from anything. We were running to the front lines to inspire the rest of the nation to step up and address what's happening in Texas. And I think to date, we are being successful in that endeavor.
The reality, though, is that the session will end tomorrow, and that you will have accomplished. I'm right about that Friday, right?
Well, I mean, technically the session doesn't end until next week. The governor has said that they want a sunny die. But again, we'll see if they actually do it, right? Do they sunny die? Does he call us back? I haven't yet seen the next call. And again, I think Governor Abbott is playing politics. We'll see what he actually does and what his commitment is to if he calls a second special and if they sunny die tomorrow.
But the rhetoric from y'all has changed just a bit, at least in my perception. It seemed y'all were saying, we're gonna stay out as long as it takes, and some of us are wondering how, because he's just going to do this infinitely. But now, when I listen to Representative Jean Wu talk, for instance, it sounds like all you're committing to is to stay gone, to kill this session. But what is the plan after that?
I mean, again, we're taking it day by day, and we have always said that we were killing this special session, right? And again, we'll see what Governor Abbott does on what he replaces it with. But I am really optimistic to see that California, when we've sent delegations around the nation, whether it's California, New Mexico, Illinois, New York. Yesterday, Indiana Democrats came to meet with us to talk about how they can step up and engage in this battle. And again, Indiana Democrats are in a very different position from Democrats in New York, Illinois, or California. But to see that California is now talking about taking steps with their voters in response to Texas and effectively negating any steal that Texas and Governor Abbott tries to engage in, I think that's an important moment for us.
But really, it does sound like, when I hear Jean Wu talk, that you're looking at the certainty that these maps are going to pass now.
Again, we'll see what Governor Abbott does. I mean, we truly are. We are taking this day by day. The caucus remains unified, and the caucus remains trying to address what's actually ahead of us. And right now, we don't know what Governor Abbott is going to choose to do next. I don't believe he has put out his call yet.
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't expect him to back down. So
he may not, and he may not. And you're right. We as Texas Democrats, we are in the minority. But that is what's so amazing about us making a cry for support from Democrats in other states, and the fact that they are now willing to say, Texas, we hear you. And as Governor Newsom is saying, if they want it, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. Mm-hmm. And so it is great to see Democratic states step up and respond in the way that they can to negate what Trump, J.D. Vance is going to try to do in Indiana, it looks like. The fact that Democrats are now recognizing this is not about each individual red state. This is about the nation in whole, and it's time to really get in the game, I think is an important step.
So I think it was last week, I talked with the architect of the California independent redistricting plan. And anyway, she obviously would not be happy about the idea of tearing that even for a temporary purpose. But what she said is, hey, we created swing districts. We didn't create, these were done by citizens. So why don't Democrats just run harder? You know, this is California. Why don't Democrats just run harder? I use that as a setup to ask this question from Jana. In the event this redistricting fiasco eventually is successful, is it inevitable that these seats are lost? Or is there a coalition of Democrats, independents, undeclared, even some sane Republicans, making plans to mitigate the damage? Get folks out to challenge the seats, get out to vote, bring people. So could it be this impact? Could it be blunted by just turning out more voters?
Linda, do you want to start with that one?
Yeah, sure. I think that we're going to see that as a result. I think we're already seeing the response from our community members. We're seeing the response on social media. I think we're starting to see the effects of that already, which has been incredible to see just across the nation. I mean, we're looking at potentially 200 demonstrations set on Saturday to stand in solidarity with us. And so I think we are starting to see the energy ignite the nation. And of course, that was also part of our intention, is to not only educate folks on what is taking place here in the state of Texas and help them understand that just because it is taking place here, it's not only going to affect Texas, it will in fact affect the United States of America and what that means for democracy overall. And so I think the education on that is unfolding, and we're starting to see the beginning of that. And hopefully this is a momentum that, you know, continues to ignite as we pass the baton to other states that can help us continue the fight.
And just as you said, one, I'm appreciative that California is recognizing that this is temporary in response to Texas. And I think that means a lot. And I do think, and look, you guys wrote an editorial on this a few weeks ago. We really should be promoting the idea, as Democrats have done, that the nation goes to an independent commission to let voters draw the lines. Let us compete on fair lines. And please don't forget about campaign finance reform. We're a state where Dan Patrick took $3 million from Paxton's biggest donor on the eve of the impeachment, and Governor Abbott took at least $12 million from a private school interest individual out of Pennsylvania before he crammed vouchers down everybody's throat in Texas. And so I think both of those things is what we should aspire to and want to seek, not only in our state, but in our nation. But right now in this moment, you have got to respond to the fact that they are trying to steal the next election. And I am grateful that people are stepping up and doing it. And as you say, as they redraw these lines, they're going to put these lines at question and at issue, and we need good people to step up. And as Democrats, you're talking to two just regular old folks. I mean, Linda's got a mom that's dealing with her business and dealing with her child. I'm a lawyer. But as Democrats, we are diverse, but we are just regular people. We are not picked by party bosses. We are just regular people. And so to know that the next election is going to come up, and we do need regular folks that are inspired by seeing that we are fighting back, we are pushing back against the extremism, we are pushing back against the Republican Party bosses out of DC that are trying to steal the next election, and that they say, hey, I can get in the game too. We are going to need that. We are going to need folks at every point trying to engage in every election position to say, public service is about the people, not about the party, and not about an individual keeping their job.
But it's only the House this time. Last time it was both chambers. What are the senators doing?
You're talking about 2003, I think. You're really going back way back in the day. I'm grateful to the senators that stepped out the other day, and obviously, you can see that the Senate is a supermajority, and they are a supermajority because of the way the lines have been drawn. When the Republicans drew the lines in 2021, again, they eliminated Democratic opportunity seats, and that's where we're stuck with. And so we are in a state that is overwhelmingly gerrymandered to be Republican. That's where we are. If people actually get out and vote, this state would be Democratic. If the people that don't vote are the ones that are working 2 and 3 jobs, that are struggling with finding good public education for their kids, that are struggling with today's economy. And so to see folks like myself and Representative Garcia that are actually saying, look, do you really want me to talk about unisex bathrooms? I mean, is that really a special session call? Can we talk about dealing with trying to fully fund public education or get more kids on healthcare? But those are not the things the Republicans want to talk about. And so when the people get frustrated with, you're not actually talking about policy that affects my daily life, you're talking about party extremism. When they go to the ballot box and say, you know what, Republicans, you've been in charge for 30 years and I'm done with you, you'll see a change.
This is an interesting question. Representative Garcia, what do you mean when you said that we're losing young people to socialism? This person mustn't be following the New York City mayoral race, but can you explain that a little more?
Yeah, I think that we saw it in this last election cycle. We're watching, just like we're watching far right move towards the far right, we're watching left move towards the left, and we are starting to see a lot more conversations that involve socialism. And I think that that is, our fault in America for not providing resources on how to take advantage of capitalistic opportunities in this country, which is what we're made up of. And so that's something that I'm really passionate about. It's something that I educate on. I wrote a book on how to begin investing in the stock market. I think it's something that is extremely important for America to understand because we are made up of consumers and not owners. The top 10% most wealthiest people in this country own 90% of all publicly traded shares. We talk about how publicly traded companies only care about their investors. And that is a true statement. It is because a publicly traded company is not owned by the CEO. It is owned by its investors. And the CEO does what the investors ask the CEO to do. And so unfortunately, right now, we have shares that are overwhelmingly owned by the top 10%. And I think that if we start to participate in the stock market, and start to also have ownership, that can change the dynamic of what publicly traded companies look like. For example, right now, the big ugly bill just provided tax breaks for publicly traded companies. AT&T just reported earnings and they received an $8 billion credit off of the big ugly bill. Meanwhile, we are in jeopardy of losing health care for people in this country. People are going to die because of this bill. And so I just think that it's important for us to understand the dynamics of capitalism and provide resources to underserved communities so that we can learn how to also benefit from being an owner of stock and not just the consumer.
Right. Thank you for that. So some people are asking how this is even constitutional for mid-decade redistricting to be done. As far as I understand, it says that it shall be done every decade, but it doesn't say it can't be done in the middle. Is that right, Representative Johnson? Whereas State House seats explicitly says that you can't do it more often.
Yeah, and I think this is where it comes down to the spirit of the Texas Constitution. The Texas Constitution says we're only supposed to do this once every 10 years. And so it should offend people that Governor Abbott, again, has no care or consideration for the founders of Texas, the foundation of which we're supposed to rely upon, the rules that we're supposed to follow, and the spirit of those rules, that when Trump said, I need you to find me 5 seats, he said, does July work for you? It should offend everyday Texans. And you know what? I know that it does. We know that it does. We know that people are actually outraged at what he's trying to do. We know that people are offended that he is trying to determine the outcome of the next election before a single vote is cast. And so the question is, how do you turn that into something that's effective? And that's what we're trying to do with this quorum bank. That's what we're trying to do with people recognizing that their engagement in the next election, their engagement by calling and emailing and expressing your concern in such a way that Abbott says, oh, I get it now. You're actually interested in me serving you and not serving Trump. That's where we are trying to spark people to let him know, I didn't ask you to do this. We don't want you to do this. And we know how wrong it is. And you're going to pay a political price for it if you do.
I'm still looking through these, Colleen. Have any struck you as...
Absolutely. Yeah, you guys were on a roll, so I didn't want to cut off, but Lisa obviously has done a great job of interweaving a lot of these questions, and we've touched upon a lot of them. So we do have a couple of minutes left. I want to kind of touch on some of the ones we didn't quite get to. And I'll go to Representative Johnson first. There was specifically someone asking about process, and this is a very analytical sort of process-oriented question.
Okay.
Can you go a little bit more into what the selection process is for appointing the commissioners on the proposed independent commission that you had mentioned?
Yeah, so I think Representative Donna Howard and I have both offered legislation in the past. And what we looked at were some retired federal judges. And again, you would hope that those individuals would have a mindset towards the Constitution and the integrity of the system, along with people who represent the interest of the various parties. And if you did that and you had individuals that represent our political interest on a shared basis, and then you have independent individuals who are qualified to participate in that commission, and let them draw the lines. I'm open to what the procedure looks like on who gets on there. All we really want is to ensure that the folks that are doing it don't have a vested interest in benefiting from the lines that are drawn. And right now, we draw our own lines. And I think you should demand differently. I mean, you have lines that are drawn to be 80% Republican or 80% Democrat, and you know that the only battle is in the primary. That pushes elected officials further into the dividing corners. We really should aspire to lines that are drawn to force people to be on the ballot in November, which is general election, where it matters to both Republicans and Democrats what we're saying. And then we're debating policy in the middle. And that's what I hope we can get to. But happy to talk about the ideas on how to make it better. But that's what we had proposed, was effectively folks that are hopefully at the end of their career without needing to benefit off the next election, and can draw lines fairly to understand the necessity of having competing parties.
Yeah. And somebody Marilyn had asked, why not let the computer draw the lines? And of course they do, don't they?
Yeah.
That's one of the problems is, from what I understand, is that, a lot of people like to say, this is the same thing Democrats did back in the day, and Democrats forever, controlled Texas and were able to do it in part by drawing lines. But from what I understand, the map drawing these days is a completely different animal from what they used to do in the past. And they're able to do it with such precision,
That's right.
especially the Republicans, that they can get these kinds of outcomes. They're computer assisted. But I think maybe the person's asking, why not have AI? Why not have a truly neutral?
Well, I think you do. I think you do have AI, but again, it's just like AI in any other context, which we've talked about, which is who's feeding the information to the AI. I mean, AI can hallucinate, right? If it doesn't know the answer. And so you need good information fed to AI. I mean, is AI being used to bring in populations of minorities who are not yet of voting age? And that's maybe one of the things that we're seeing here is, are the folks that are claiming to be represented in these districts actually not able to even vote yet? And I think it should concern people that Trump is now talking about trying to redo the census, which we do once every 10 years, and we fill out that paperwork. But now he's saying he has a better idea of how he could do it to, again, potentially manipulate the manner in which districts are drawn in the future. I think everybody should be afraid of what Trump is doing right now, and saying that he has a better way and a better system that offends the integrity of the process that we have all been beholden to every decade. These are not normal times.
And do you think that what Trump has said, that plan to change the way we do the census, has something to do with this effort? It seems that it's being cast as, we shouldn't count people who are here undocumented.
I mean, we have to count the people that need services, right? And so we need to count the system that needs to work. We need to count what our healthcare system looks like, what our public safety system looks like, what our roads look like. And that means to the folks that are here for whatever reason, it's ensuring that your state has the ability to get the coverage that we need and the representation that we need for the folks that are here. And so whatever Trump is attempting to do with demonizing or bringing this up, I am worried, because right now, just as you said when we started this conversation, what are we doing this for anyway? We don't have new data. We don't have new numbers. Redistricting is supposed to be, like Representative Garcia and I both represent about 200,000 Texans. We got that number and increased that number because of population growth. And that's why you're supposed to redraw districts, is to ensure that my district that physically looks different from Representative Garcia both account for 200,000 Texans. So there is no reason to do this redraw right now. There's no court asking for it. There's no new data to say, hey, we need to move these lines, presumably because more people live in these places or not. And the fact that Trump is now trying to talk about he has a better system to do that right now than the regular census should scare people. This is the same guy that when the Commissioner of Labor Statistics issued data he didn't like, he decided to fire. I mean, none of this is normal.
So I find this interesting, Representative Garcia. Some people are saying, why are you using socialism as a dirty word? The Democratic Party has failed to embrace democratic socialists, Bernie Sanders, AOC. I don't think we're supposed to say in Texas that socialism is an option, but but what are you thinking about that?
Yeah, I don't think that socialism is a dirty word necessarily. I think that capitalizing on healthcare and education has proved to be a problem in this country. And so a lot of the times when we are not educated on how capitalism works with publicly traded companies and the opportunities that come in with potentially being able to invest and generate, whether that's generational wealth for ourselves or add to a retirement account, we start to see issues, not just within publicly traded companies. So my issue is not with socialism. It is with the lack of understanding capitalism in this country. And I do think that socialism is an important contribution to the narrative. It has been with AOC and Bernie Sanders. And so, yeah, I hope that clarifies.
Thank you. Representative Johnson, this is an interesting question. What did you learn from being an attorney helping impeach Paxton in the Texas House? What did you learn from that experience about taking on Republicans and tough issues that you can now utilize in a redistricting fight and otherwise?
Yeah, I mean, what I learned is that that Republicans in the Texas Senate have no backbone. They have no courage. They have no moral courage or political courage, because Ken Paxton should have been impeached. He has admitted it. He admitted it to the articles of impeachment before the trial, and he admitted it to it after the trial. He was given a political acquittal. And that's why I say I am deeply disturbed by U.S. Senator Cornyn in the way in which he is now sinking to the pathetic level of posting pictures of him reading Trump's book, of him now asking Kash Patel to come get us, when this is a man that talks about having been on the Texas Supreme Court and the former Attorney General and trying to separate himself from the integrity and lack of morals of Ken Paxton. And yet he is stooping to his level in this moment because his poll numbers are tanking. That should tell you everything you need to know about today's Republican Party in Texas. They do not have the courage to step up and not participate in the corruption. And so you have two options in Texas. You can vote Republican, you can vote Democrat. And Texas Republicans are proving over and over again that all they care about is their party extremism and getting reelected. They are not bringing us back to talk about the issues that matter to you. They are bringing us back to talk about the issues that can get them to win a Republican primary. And so that's what I've unfortunately learned. And that's why I'm proud to be a Democrat.
So this is a straightforward question, but considering some threats made against Beto O'Rourke, it's interesting. Somebody asked, can we help pay some legislator living and travel expenses? What is the law there?
I mean, people can contribute to our campaigns, right? We as elected officials, when we're campaigning and getting out our messaging, that's just a normal process, right? And so all this, and again, we are not asking for anything. We are doing this quorum break because we know it's the right thing to do. But when people want to contribute to our campaigns, they can do that at any point in time. It is comical to me that Greg Abbott is now accusing us of bribery when he's sending out emails about our quorum break with a donate link. And he's the one that took $12 million from a guy out of Pennsylvania. And so we're not doing anything different. And we're not asking for anything. The quorum break is because we know it's the right thing to do.
Mhm. So this person, I'm going to go ahead and respond to him myself. Jim, you're asking, where was the Houston Chronicle when the Democrats in Harris County, gerrymandered? Actually, I was head of the editorial board at that time. I'm no longer. But yes, we did write about that. And we said, Rodney Ellis and others should not be doing it. And it was hypocritical of them to engage in that when they were criticizing Republicans. But still, that was not mid-decade. It was not out of sequence redistricting. But yes, both parties have engaged in gerrymandering for a very long time.
And don't forget, our Republican colleagues are right now saying they can want to do this because they can. And so you're right, as voters, it's up to you to say, look, both sides don't do that. But I'm putting it out there for folks to recognize the Democratic Party has tried to end this partisan gerrymandering with independent commissions. Republicans won't even give us a hearing and they won't vote for it. So it is not both sides. And ask them to prove it to you. Tell them to put it on the call and let's vote on it up and down and see where they really stand on this issue.
I'm sick of it all. I'm sick of
go
it
ahead,
all,
Lisa.
he says, and I want a third party. So I don't know.
We are just about at time, and like Lisa's obviously alluding to, there's so much to get through. Obviously, we only have so much time in this one discussion. But I actually want to go over real quick, kind of on to tie it all up, really, with a philosophical question. I know that's obviously hard to pose, but I do want to pose it to all three of you. First with Representative Garcia, and then with Representative Johnson, and then I actually want Lisa's take on this. We had someone basically on the note of everyone gerrymanders, everyone does redistricting. It's not a party that, and obviously Representative Johnson talked a little bit about that. But someone basically point blank said it, like, what's the end game, right? There's a lot of feeling like there's a lot of tension. So someone was invoking the JFK quote, quote, those who make peaceful change impossible make violent revolution inevitable. And very well-known quote. So I know that's a bit putting you on the spot, but Representative Garcia, I kind of wanted to take your opinion first of that, end game, peaceful change impossible, leading to revolution inevitability. You're on the, newer side of leadership in the party. What do you think about it? Is all hope lost? Are we hopeful? What's the current standing in your view?
I'm extremely hopeful. I am so proud of our caucus to have taken a stand. Finally, I see hope, like me, myself as a freshman, and watching leadership just lean into breaking quorum at a time when people didn't believe that we would ever do this. To me, that gives me so much hope, and it ignites me in a way that I haven't felt ignited for very many years. And so I'm hoping that others are feeling the same way. I believe they are. We're watching it on our social channels. We're watching it, when we see folks, when the text messages I'm receiving. And so, yes, I think that this was an important moment and an important fight that we took on. And I'm very proud of our caucus.
Representative Johnson, I'll ask you the same question.
Yeah, I'll tell you, I was part of the quorum break in 2021 to today. Things are drastically different. The extremism, the threats, the harassment. I'm your former chief human trafficking prosecutor in Harris County, and I have had criminals threaten my life. I really never thought I'd see the day when these threats were coming from the governor, the attorney general, or the president of the United States. And so we need to tone it down. And we need leadership to tone it down. But when you're saying hunt them down, that does nothing to tone it down. So when we talk about the idea of a revolution, I am hopeful that that revolution is people peacefully protesting and going to the ballot box, standing in line when they make it harder for you to have an opportunity to vote, going in the hours that they dictate, going on the days that they dictate, being prepared to find a deputy voter registrar and getting signed up properly 60 days before the election, because that's what Republicans have put in place. And so to me, that's what it looks like, is actually getting to the ballot and voicing your concern. And we are a two-party state. For those that say, hey, I want a third party, we are a two-party state. You have a choice. You can either vote Republican or you can vote Democrat. And right now, I am hopeful that people will see what we represent as Democrats. I'm telling you right now, you can vote against me. I am fighting to protect your interest to vote against me. I am fighting to protect that your vote and your voice matters, whether it's for me or against me. Republicans are fighting to guarantee that they win. And so I think that should tell you everything about where we are right now. And I hope that you will take that with you to the ballot box next November 2026.
So what are I just want to leave it because we haven't talked about this. What are the options now? Y'all could stay gone. You could come back, but what else to fight this? Legal?
Yeah, I mean, I think you'll continue to see that one, again, as a caucus, we are taking it day by day, but these fights are not only in the court of public opinion with ensuring that people see what Texas is doing, but we have things that are pending in the court, in litigation, that are important. We have other states that are stepping up. And so we are proud to be the Texas House Democrats who have broken quorum, but we recognize we are one small runner in this race. There are so many other things that have to happen, need to happen, whether it's in the courts, whether it's in, as Rep. Garcia said, on social media with people engaging with folks getting to hear what's happening, or with it's in blue states. And so we're really grateful to be one small piece of what is happening now.
Awesome. And
Thank
Lisa,
you.
I'll end with you. We've got only a couple minutes left. Do you want to respond to that JFK quote, or is there any parting words of
Well, they
philosophical hope?
they spoke beautifully. I just want to say, because guys can't see all the comments, people are saying they're very proud, they're very inspired. Clearly got a lot of Democrats on this call. Other people are saying other things, but there are a lot of people on here who are excited about what you're doing, and I think, you know, it is hard sometimes to maintain hope in a state where the deck is so stacked. I wish my wants are different than yours. I wish that we had a purple state. I wish that every district could be competitive. But fairness is just essential, and we don't have that in Texas right now. So it's good that you know, you're partisans, but you're also fighting for fair maps.
Yes.
And on that note, with fairness in mind, our journalism and our work here at the Houston Chronicle will continue. Obviously, we are covering this topic nonstop, from our news team, from Lisa's column to obviously the opinion team as well. We have all the angles covered. And we want to take a second to also remind everyone, if you have not been on an HC Live before, we will be putting this entire conversation up within the next in the next couple hours. We will get it up on our Houston Chronicle YouTube channel. So you can send this to different party members, to constituents, to your friends and family, to talk about it and continue the conversation. And then obviously follow our Houston Chronicle reporting, Lisa's column, and here on HC Live for all the latest developments. Coming up in the next few weeks, we will actually have several other women leaders in good company with Representatives Johnson and Garcia. We've got, you know, the women leaders of suburban Houston. So that is coming up next. And then we will also have another continuation of Lisa's work on the opinion team. Evan Mintz will be joining us to meet you all live and on live. So anyway, with that, I've spoken a lot. Thank you again to Representatives Johnson and Garcia, and to Lisa for hosting and moderating this entire discussion. We will see you all on YouTube. Take care, everyone. Stay safe.
Thank y'all.